My name is Greg Pollitt. I'm founder of Paranormal Nights, an investigation team into the paranormal. We go to people's homes trying to investigate and back up their claims and businesses. We try to find any local legends that may appear for us to investigate and find evidence to back up, or to find the truth of what's going on, whether it's proof of the paranormal or just an old legend. When you kind of fall into this, you're really chosen. Many people that I've talked to, including myself, that have started into the paranormal, has had an experience that has reached out to a religious leader or someone that they felt they could trust and seek out help of something, to find answers of something they've experienced. And unfortunately, a lot of those people don't have answers either. And they kind of shunned away from giving guidance. So that most of the people you talk to that have gotten into this field, that's one of the primary things that got them into it, was not finding answers from anyone and needing answers for themselves, so they started investigating themselves. I've had many experiences over my lifetime. I've not experienced everything under the sun like a lot of people claim. I have seen a couple full-bodied apparitions, a couple partial apparitions, a lot of shadows. One thing you kind of have to do when you start investigating is train yourself, or I should say untrain yourself. As a kid growing up, if you experience something in your bedroom or anything like that, mom and dad's first reaction is to console you, tell you there's nothing there, go back to sleep, everything's okay. So you're conditioned as you grow up to dismiss things. If you see a shadow out of the corner of your eye, you're like, okay, it's just my eye playing tricks on me. Or you hear a noise in the house, it's just the heating pump. You automatically dismiss it and don't investigate it. The truth is, there's a lot of things that could be going on there that is not just the heating turning on. That could be more in the paranormal world.
Hi, I'm Garrett, co-founder of Paranormal Nights and lead investigator.
My name is Noah Maisel. I'm coming up on right about 30 years old. I've been in the field of paranormal research since I was right about 10 years old. I take it very seriously. I am extremely opinionated on it. Not really willing to take most things, like a lot of people, at face value. I've seen a lot of things and done a lot of things that a lot of people don't understand, and some people can't comprehend. I've been trying to assist people all over the country, even a couple outside of the country, with what I know to be the best ways to deal with things in the paranormal or just the non-understood side of the world. I have seen things that are impossible. I have experienced things that most people will just never understand. I'm going to talk about a couple of those today, try to clear up a couple things, and probably lay a little bit thicker of an opinion than some people want to hear. But like I said, that's just the way that I am.
Hi, my name's Sean Moeller, 31 years old. Originally started ghost hunting when I actually met up with Noah. Known Noah pretty much my whole life. Had an experience 15 years ago that actually intrigued us to get started.
I'll let you guys know how this all started. I'm your typical kid, heard of Casper the Ghost. I know that's laughable. I was just interested in the things that go bump in the night, ever since I could crawl. Just before I turned 13 years old, in Anderson Township, Cincinnati, not so many miles from where I'm sitting right now, my father was murdered. It was a couple days before my birthday, so it wasn't the most pleasant experience, but that's not really what I'm here to talk about. It's the activities that happened after that, with multiple members of the Cincinnati Police Department, even EMS members that were there, family members, neighbors. The people that were in my home over the next several days saw things that most people would, for lack of a better way to say this, for most people would say that they were right out of a horror movie. Things that are impossible. From the corniness of plates flying out, which really isn't corny when you actually see it, to, well, I don't want to exaggerate here, I'll call it about a 2 or 3 inch thick oak double door ripped off of its hinges. Well, that's definitely impossible until you see it happen. The sounds of screaming, doors slamming, voices being heard. Now, when you see something like that and you experience something like that, it's going to grab your attention. Some people can handle it, some people can't. But I didn't have a choice. I had to understand that what was going on around me was impossible. And when you watch something that's impossible, you have to accept that it really is possible. And getting past that in your own brain is a very hard thing to do. But I did. And it delved me deep into the world of trying to figure out how things like this could happen. What can cause them? What can stop them? What can hinder them? How they come about, where they come from, their origins.
And we eventually, 10 years down the road, started up our own group called Ghost, Ghost Hunters Southern Ohio team. Me and Noah did that for about 3.5 years. Upon doing our own team, we actually met up with some other well-known names, such as Shannon Sylvia, Patty Starr. Going back to Patty Starr, she's actually the one who actually got us started. Patty's the one who introduced us to the whole field of Ghost, from everything, how to use the tools, get out on the field, and what to look for, experiences that may happen. The biggest thing I can remember is from starting out, I was a skeptic at first. What got me intrigued was the stuff that happened years ago. So I had to know more about what it was. Noah eventually got the courage to want to find out more, and that's what takes us back to Patty. Is for Christmas, about 10 years ago, Noah had gotten us 2 training classes to go out and meet with Patty Starr. Took the classes, it was a weekend long, learned more than I could ever imagine. Right after that, it wasn't but 2 weeks when we were actually out doing our first ghost hunt. Upon doing our first ghost hunt, we came across many different apparitions, you know, things that we thought were orbs, and you know, having to learn the difference between orbs and dust. And eventually, after you get doing it for a while, you understand the difference.
Now, studying things like this, you have to look at the religious side, you have to look at the scientific side. And for the people out there that think it's all a hoax, or the people that think it's all religious, or they think it's all scientific, well, if you think it's any one of those 3 things, then you're wrong. Yep, I'm judging you and telling you that you're wrong. Because you have to understand all of them and realize that these things are based in all of the above. So many things that unfortunately we have been shown on television shows and movies are fake, but not all of them. So many people have unfortunately profited from the pain and suffering of others in a field of research that is very real, tragically real in many cases. I have seen and experienced the real part of it. People, I'm telling you, this isn't a world for everybody. Now, unfortunately, these television shows and these movies have made it disgustingly popular that if you go grab a camera and you watch a couple episodes of something on some corny channel, that obviously you're a professional ghost hunter. Well, that's not how it works. Most people should not be partaking in activities like this. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with not partaking of them. There are people that are designed for things. There are a lot of things that I'm not good at. But unfortunately, one of the things that I am is understanding how to deal with what causes, how to accept, how to explain to. I could keep going on the field of paranormal activity. And again, I'll go back to it. If you don't understand the religious side, the scientific side, and everything in between the two, then you don't understand what this is about. I have seen families torn apart because of not understanding what these things can cause. I have seen people die. I have seen dead people come back in ways that people just don't get because they've watched television shows that make it all into a big joke. I have been to houses that people don't understand or how they should still be in existence. You know, here's one that I talk about that most people don't like to hear, but I've got to say it. I've been to churches that I really wish were never built. In fact, not all that far from where we are right now, there was a church originally built in the late 1700s. Now, some of the parishioners of this church don't know its history, but unfortunately, why this church was built was to cover the heathen souls. It was built over a Native American graveyard. Now, people, I'm not saying that's every church, but unfortunately, humanity isn't always about smiles and rainbows. We've done some bad things, and some of those bad things will stain themselves on this world. Now, I'm not saying every ghost out there is an evil thing. I've played tag with ghosts that just don't understand that they should have passed a long time ago. I've captured footage that lots of people will say is fake. Well, guess what? You can't say it's fake when you're there. I've had conversations just like you talking to your friend, that crystal clear, not show up on audio whatsoever, but I've sat there and spoken to things that weren't there. No, not in my head, for the person that just cracked the joke about that. Some of the things I can talk about, some of them I can't. I've worked with police across the country. Some of the things that I've found, I don't even understand how we did. Since I was a kid, I've had people try to come to some of these activities with me, and some are just friends, and some are people that I didn't like, but I was just being polite. Because everybody always wants to go and be scared. Everybody wants to get their blood boiling and their nerves going. Well, that's not why I'm in it. I have stopped things that could do more damage than anybody can comprehend. I have been stopped by things that can do more damage than anybody can comprehend. I have had my flesh torn. I have been caused to be ill. And you name it, I've been through it. And I'm not going to leave this field. Because like I said before, I'm tragically good at this. And I'm going to continue to help those that I can. And I'm going to continue to talk negatively about the people that act like they know what they're doing and don't. The sellouts that got some right producer to give them the rights to a show in which their creative team are the ones that make the things that go bump in the night. Again, I'm not trying to tell you that nobody can handle this, but most can't.
The other things that helped, you know, build us, you know, as a team was the introduction of bringing Greg in. Greg actually, you know, showed us things that we didn't know.
So as an investigator, you have to untrain yourself or uncondition yourself to be open to those things. When you see movement, you have to direct your attention to it. Try to find out what moved, to seek out whatever you can find that made that movement, whether it is a heat pump kicking on, or car lights reflecting through a window, or Uncle Tom's ghost running around there causing all kind of chaos. Children are awesome investigators. Not that you should ever take a child as an investigator, but they're open to everything. They're not conditioned to the way the world is, the way we are today. So you kind of need to listen to them as a parent if something is going on. One way you can tell the difference between an overactive imagination and an imaginary friend or something going on is most kids that have an imaginary friend, they just play with them. They're playing with toys, whatever, you know, and they'll maybe occasionally try to blame them for something. Oh, Tommy broke the dish, Mommy, not me. One big thing you should look for a danger aspect that could potentially be something else is if they do something that puts them in danger and tells them that their imaginary friend told them to do it. If it's something completely out of the norm, like my imaginary friend told me to climb this ladder and jump off, you know, that's something you want to pay a little more attention to, and could be something else.
As far as me, I was the tech specialist for the team, setting up everything, going back, reviewing video, audio, EVPs. Then about 3 years ago, me and Noah actually stopped our crew Ghost, and Greg split off into his own, which is now Paranormal Nights. I was out of the field for about 1.5 years. Greg had called me and asked me if I wanted to join in with his team. I decided to do it because just everything that had happened still was unanswered, and we had to figure out more. So since then, you know, we've gone many different places, schools, churches, just all over, Louisville, Lexington, Georgetown, you know, anywhere you can imagine. Another experience that was different was going to Bobby Mackey's, where we actually went with Shannon Sylvia, who was on the original Ghost Hunters International. It was quite an experience being with someone like that who had the background. From her, we learned a lot more upon all the other people who were there. It was just more of knowing what to look for, what to do, and what not to do. Doing ghost hunting, it has its limits. You don't want to take it too far. I mean, things can happen, but you know, that's nor here nor there.
The few and far between people that I've worked with that can handle it are people that I would work with in any situation. They are willing to put their very livelihood, the safety of their families, because things can absolutely follow you and stick to you. So they're willing to put themselves, their families, in danger to help those that need it. Now, the term brother is thrown around very loosely, but whether it was a guy or a girl, if it's somebody that I've worked with that I would do these actions with to try to help those people out there that need it, they are my kin, my brothers, my sisters, because the danger that you put yourself in to do these things is very real. The damage that can be done to you when you don't know what it is you're dealing with is very real. Some people call me a little long-winded. I can't say these things long enough. I can't repeat myself enough times. There are people that are designed to do this, and there are people that aren't. I've chosen to work with a couple that I would trust with my very life, that on multiple occasions I've absolutely had to. There's a lot of things that I do that even some of them I would ask them not to. And it's not for thrill seeking. Most of what myself and my team do cannot and will not be captured on any device. We use dozens of different recording devices, from professional to corny, from analog to digital, computers, thermals, FLIRs, trap cameras, you name it, we've used it. We've worked with the people that call themselves professionals. We've worked with people that you'll never hear of. Some of them absolutely know what they're doing. Most of them don't. You take a room full of 10 people these days, and 9 of them will tell you that they've hunted ghosts before, because they went and got a camera and turned the lights out and said Bloody Mary into the mirror 3 times. The things that have been popularized should have never been, because all they're doing is feeding the negativity that can cause more and more of these things to happen. I've been to houses where I have seen things that most people should never have to see. Seen people lose their lives. Had damage done to me that it's not that I want to have it done, but better it happened to me than one of your children. Better it happened to me than you, because people are designed for different things.
Recently had an investigation in Morrow, Ohio. Pretty intense. History pretty much based off of 2 murders of a guy's wives. Both were injected. Had a lot of activity. Some really good EVPs, which is electronic voice phenomenon. A lot of shadow activity, door slamming. Client brought us in to evaluate their claims.
Through the years, I've been to many places, from homes to businesses to cemeteries. One of the most recent cases we had was a home in Morrow, Ohio. Our client had called us. She had been experiencing door slamming and locking. She had been experienced, a friend of theirs, a family actually, had been scratched in the driveway. Their car mysteriously had lights come on and off. While also in the home, they could hear things being dragged around in the attic. They could hear people saying their names and could not find anything to prove that it was something normal. So they called us to come in. As we got there, we set up, we started interviewing her. While we were doing that, we were recording with video and taking still pictures. In the picture process, we found several images where the woman's face was smudged out. You could make out detail in every other thing, from her clothing to her hair to the background, but her face looked like someone had just smudged it out in a digital picture, which is very difficult to do. During this process, our tech guy had captured a picture of something that seemed to appear in front of the woman early on. Didn't say anything to us, not to influence the investigation or anything of that nature, and just kept it as a control factor. As we left, he showed us the picture, and you could see Noah with his back to the camera. To his right was the woman who lived there, and there's an image of something manifesting right in front of her. Very, very creepy and cryptic looking. Looks very scary. Later, upon further analysis, we found another image with a couple little creatures. It's the best way we can describe it. In front of the couch. Never seen anything like this. I've talked to religious experts. I've talked to people at colleges that teach anthropology and stuff like that that have no explanation for it. They've never seen anything like it. So we have some proof of, we believe, definite proof of the paranormal that will blow your mind. It's complete, out of the box. You've never seen anything like it. And it makes you believe that there are things that go bump in the night.
Some of the claims were that it was on an ancient Indian burial ground. Couldn't really find any information on that because the Indians didn't keep any type of records, and the township didn't have any records of Indians being on the property. but townsfolk had said that there was Indians. We did get a couple of EVPs that are not a recognizable language. Some of the other EVPs were from a female voice. We believe it was the one that belonged to the apparition, saying that they were injected, which kind of backed their claims and the information that they gave us prior to some of the investigation.
The things we saw in this house, to put it lightly, I want the house torn down and sealed and nobody to live in it. There is a family living in there. There has been multiple families over, from what we understand, a little over 100 years living in this home. It's been modified many times. The activities that took place in this house are everything from the lights coming on and off, to doors slamming shut, to doors locking on us. That one gets real special. But they weren't just in the house. They weren't just in the back of the house. They were all around. One of our cars got locked up, and the alarm kept going off. Now, anything, you can prove that anything was fake, unless you're there and you see that nobody faked it or touched it. We saw the good old shadow people in the windows. We got temperature variations. Well, here, on that note, people think 2 to 3 degrees is a temperature variation. No. A 10, 15, 20 degree variance, watching water boil when there's no heat source, and or freeze on the same note, that is a temperature variance. Those are both things we got there. I won't mention his name because it's not the most pleasant thing, but you think the little scrapes that you've seen on TV or something, well, they're nothing. Till you get somebody that looks like they just got attacked by Freddy Krueger, letting blood out of their own flesh when nothing touched them. That's the sort of stuff that happened at this house. From small things to little things, from the minute we got in there, which it was fully light out, it was chock full of every experience you could name. The mother in this home, which we later found out had unfortunately partaken in some activities that she shouldn't have. Things like playing with Ouija boards, things like talking to people that practice in cult activities. Well, she can't show up on a camera. Yep, you can absolutely say that that can be fake too. Well, although I'm not going to tell you where it is, believe me, if you're one of the people that knows it, look through every picture you've tried to take of her. I bet they didn't come out. Especially when you're taking a group photo and her face is scratched and or blurred out or just not on the picture at all, and everybody else is just fine. Now, unfortunately, the activities that she had practiced or been a part of just compounded the issues that were already in the home. We found out that there was 2 different murders in that house that we never knew about. We absolutely went to the police afterwards, and guess what? We found out what caused it, when it had happened, who had did it, and we were exactly right. Things that we didn't know about. We got words chanted over and over again. We picked up multiple entities, if that's what you want to call them. This was one of the more negative places I have ever been. People, I've seen exorcisms. I've seen completely BS things. I've gone into homes where people have set up hidden speakers to make sound show up, traps in their home to make it look like doors can swing open or closed. This wasn't fake. 2 members of the team couldn't quite take what was going on in there. So they decided to go outside until things got so bad outside the house that they actually wanted to come back in. Because if those things are going to happen, you might as well be with somebody. One of the daughters in the home that we since have found out, well, at least we think we found out she's no longer there, is now suffering from severe psychological problems, severe depression issues, has gone through multiple relationships. You know, there's a lot of things that happen to people that they don't understand what it causes. And until you can understand that some of these things really aren't your fault, they're caused by outside influences, well, this house was full of all of them. From daylight to nighttime, no matter who was in there. It was one of the worst locations I've ever been in. Power surges that just made no sense, power drains that made no sense. We later found out that there's even a good old hidden buried cellar out back. Now I say buried as in we can't get into it. With the right equipment, which I might just try to get into sometime, there's rumors that there's stuff under the ground there that most people really shouldn't deal with. But anything can be dealt with. So we might just be back out at this location at some point or another to try to help, because that's what we can do. For the people that live in this home, for the people that have lived in this home, the ones that are still alive and the ones that aren't, at some point or another you may or may not see all this. But I really do feel sorry for anybody that's been in there, alive or dead. There are places in this world that are just evil, and that's one of them.